everybody. Alright. So, this is your girl Bianca, aka Nina Scott. Look out for the mixtape. Welcome to the Doghouse, coming very, very soon. Probably for once, I don't know yet. Alright, so I'm doing this video because I said I was gonna do a shout out video and put it on Facebook. So this is me doing a shout out video and putting it on Facebook. So I got my assistant T here. Say what's up, T. There she go. What you doing? And she's gonna be my assistant for today. She's gonna call out the names.
Why I look like being an assistant? Why I can't be CEO, entrepreneur?
What would that make me? Your flunky?
Just you.
Anyway,
I finished the video.
Can you just like call out the names? Cause you being repetitive.
Lackawanna Dion.
Lackawanna Dion. Lackawanna Dion. I checked out your profile pictures. You look good. You need to get at me.
Maya Curtis.
Maya Curtis. Maya Curtis. Okay. People always, this bring me to a whole other subject. People always wanted to be honest, and they don't want to be honest. Well, luckily, I'm not everybody else, so I'm going to keep it 100. Maya, it was some serious hostility between us after I found out what Taylor did. Yes, Taylor Goodman, you will be tagging this video. And all y'all slimy, just putting it out there, straight up 100. But you know what? I'm better off without you.
Now what's up?
Now what's up?
Now you ratchet and she dirty. Anyway,
you did that. Who next?
Fonzo.
Fonzo. That's my nigga Fonzo. My nigga Fonzo. What's up, my dog? You call me on Uber all the time, but it's Gucci. It's Gucci. But y'all, if you're looking at this video, look out for his mixtape, cause that nigga can go. I tell you, Red B better watch out. Who next on this team?
Teddy.
Who?
Teddy.
Teddy. Teddy, you be seeing me in school and you be hugging me. You is so cute, but you sweet. But you like a jit though. Who next?
Shantae.
Shantae. That's my cousin. That's my dog. You's a liar. That's my dog. Who next? I got a lot of time.
Best friend boat ride.
Best friend boat ride. Where was you at today? I'm just putting it out there because I ain't see you in school. And I'm pretty sure you ain't no senior, so you ain't going on the field trip. But we can talk about that later.
Your handwriting.
Larry. Mr. Fantastic. You don't do me no more. We be in Spanish class and you don't even talk to me. But it's cool because y'all 2012 niggas real sour. Kimon. Baby, that tattoo on your chest. What? You got it. Where you at? Kamaya. My cousin Kamaya. I ain't seen you in like 4 years. But you grew up, girl. You got these. And I guess that's it. Oh no, Devon, my bad. Devon, you is my nigga. And you be flirting with me, but it's okay, but you too old for me, my uncle said, sorry. But I guess that's it for my shout out video. Now, look out for my next video, which is gonna be on rap names. I ain't trying to get famous off of this, but I got a lot of stuff to say and y'all gonna listen today. You gonna listen today. Bye. Oh, by the way, follow me on Twitter at kissmy_maxstick. Yes. And you can follow T on at the pretty one. Yes, the pretty one. What is this? She said K.
No, you weren't supposed to read it.
Oh. Bye y'all.